From Roots We Rise, from Scott Lane to Future Legacy. Every family has a story. Tonight, this one belongs to all of us. Long before any of us in this room were born, our family's journey was already being written in the hardest chapters of American history. Some of our ancestors were born into slavery, their lives defined by a system meant to break their spirit. But their strength, their endurance, their determination, and most of all, their faith carried them forward. This story begins with Scott Lane. It continues with Sam Lane and carries forward through Frank Sappho Lane and his siblings, Maggie, Carrie, Scott, Calvin, Thomas, Charlie, and Harriet. 3 generations of a family who lived through struggle, change, and survival. Their footsteps led us from bondage toward freedom, from uncertainty toward possibility, and from the past into the future. Now we journey back into the lives of those whose strength and resilience shaped the Lane and Jones family, and whose legacy lives on in each of us here tonight. Before he was a United States Census entry, before he was a farm laborer, before he was a husband, before he was the ancestor of every Lane sitting in this room, Scott Lane was considered property. And tonight, as you sit here, you are the living proof that property became legacy. The first time we see Scott Lane in the historical record is not in a birth register. It is in 1854, in the appraisal of the estate of the late John C.C. Lane, son of Edward Lane and grandson of Abram Lane. Scott is not listed as a person. He is listed with a dollar value, $1,100. He appears alongside others: Alec, Lardy Jim, Jim Stevens, Philip, boys Jack and Willis, girls Betty and Patience, women Mary. Now, Benjamin Lane, referred to as Ben Lane, brother of the deceased John Lane, serves as executor of the estate. This is where Scott Lane's recorded life begins, in ink, in valuation, in bondage. And as we read these names, we remember each one was someone's father, someone's mother, someone's child, someone whose blood runs through us at the Lane and Jones family reunion. 2 years later, 1856, Scott Lane is hired out to Philip Newton. His labor is leased. His body generates income. Still not a free man. And yet, inside that system, he survived. Because he had to survive so that we, Scott Lane's generational legacy, could be here. January 1857. A small entry. Sundries for Scott, $4. Clothing? Tools? Supplies? We don't know. But even small purchases were recorded because Scott was still considered property. Imagine your name written in a ledger, not for who you are, but for what you cost. And yet, that same name would one day be written as a free citizen. In 1858, land and enslaved people are divided. Scott Lane is assigned to Edmund Grapp. Alongside him, Philip, Patience, and Patience's 2 children. Meanwhile, Alec, Jim, Jack, and Willis remain with slave master Ben Lane. Families separated by paper, lives transferred like acreage. But paper could not transfer destiny, because the story did not end there. Then the Civil War, then emancipation, and for the first time, Scott Lane is no longer property. He is a man, and everything we are about to see comes from that moment. Because freedom made Sam Lane possible, and Sam Lane made most of you possible. October 14, 1867. Scott Lane appears again in the historical record. Not as property, not as hired labor, but as a man on the freedman tax list. His name is recorded in Georgia's returns of qualified voters and Reconstruction oath books. To be listed meant something profound. It meant recognition. It meant he had taken the loyalty oath. It meant he was acknowledged as part of civic life. For a man once appraised at $1,100, this was a different kind of value. His name now stood in ink as a free citizen, and that citizenship is part of your inheritance. In 1870, Scott Lane appears again, now in the United States Census. A free black man, age 30, farm laborer, cannot read, cannot write, living in Emmanuel County, Georgia, next door to Philip Newton, the same name connected to his earlier hiring record. Beside him is his wife Harriet and 3 children, Alexander, Cheney, and Josephine, along with his brother Andrew Lane. Freedom did not erase the past, but it did allow a future. And that future included a son named Samuel, known as Sam. In 1878, land was deeded to the trustees of the AME Church in Emmanuel County. Land set aside for worship. Land set aside for community. Land set aside for dignity. Years later, that same church would appear again in court records connected to Scott Lane's lumber. Think about that. A man once sold as property, now supplying lumber for a church. He was no longer being built into someone else's wealth. He was helping build his own community. And that church would become part of the Lane story. By 1880, the family has grown. Scott and Harriet now have Alex, Cheney, Josephine, Samuel or Sam, and James. Sam, the son whose line brings most of us together today. When we say Sam Lane's family, we are looking at the branch that survived, multiplied, and gathered here. Almost every family reunion chair traces back to this household. But freedom did not mean financial security right away. Scott took multiple loans from Daniel, Sons, and Palmer, stretching across years. Debt followed. In 1884, Harriet filed for exemption protection for herself and her 4 underage children. She was trying to protect their belongings from being seized by creditors. This is survival. This is strategy. This is a mother defending her household. This is how Sam's future was protected. In the late 1890s, Scott Lane went to court. He had supplied lumber for a church. When payment was questioned, he stood up for himself. Witnesses spoke, records were reviewed, and Scott Lane defended his word. A man once valued in dollars, now demanding payment for his own labor. That is transformation. And because he stood, his children stood. And because his children stood, you stand. By 1900, Scott Lane, age 60, head of household. Harriet, 55. James, 21. Maggie, daughter-in-law. Grandchildren, Marnie and Mitchell. The U.S. Census states Scott and Harriet had been married for 35 years, since emancipation. Harriet had given birth to 8 children. 6 were living. They survived Reconstruction. They survived debt. They built a lineage. And that lineage includes Sam. And Sam's story is the continuation of Scott's freedom. When we look at these maps, we are looking at more than roads and property lines. We are looking at place. Even though pavement shifted, even though lines were redrawn, the area remained the same. This is the land connected to Lane Grove Baptist Church in Millen, Georgia. Generations passed. Roads changed. The world changed. But the community stayed rooted right here. The church stood on the same ground. The families stayed in the same soil. And today, you are gathered because that ground held. In 1910, Scott Lane is still there, with Harriet, with widowed son Sam, with grandchildren. Harriet is recorded as having 6 children born, 5 living. The numbers shift, but the family remains, and Sam's branch continues. That branch is sitting here tonight. In 1921, Scott's life closes with a death certificate. No longer appraised, no longer transferred, no longer hired out. He dies a named man, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a church builder, a survivor of slavery. And as we remember Scott Lane tonight, take a moment. Look around the room. You are his victory. Samuel Lane was born in 1874 in Emmanuel County, Georgia. Later, the portion of Emmanuel where he lived became Jenkins County. But one place never changed: Millen. Millen was the stronghold of the Lane family. In 1880, 6-year-old Samuel Lane, namely Sam Lane, appears in the census as the son of Scott Lane, a man who had once been enslaved. Sam Lane was born free, but he was raised in the shadow of hardship. Sam Lane married Lula Jones, and together they built a family of 8 children: Frank Sappho, Maggie, Carrie, Scott, Calvin, Thomas, Charlie, and Harriet. Those 8 children are the reason most of us are here tonight. In 1900, Sam Lane was a young father. He could not yet read or write. He worked as a farm laborer. He rented his home. But that would not be the end of his story. By 1910, Sam Lane had learned to read and write. Education mattered to him. Even after losing his wife Harriet, he continued raising his children and building something greater. By 1920, Sam Lane was no longer renting. He owned his farm, free and clear. The son of a formerly enslaved man now owned land in Georgia. In 1930, Sam Lane was not just a farmer. He was an employer, a landowner, a leader in his community. Samuel believed in education. He knew what it meant to struggle without it. So he donated land, lumber, and supplies to build the first grammar school in his community. The school was named in his honor, Lane Grammar. Sam Lane believed in helping those in need. He guided his children toward the future. Through struggle, hard work, and sacrifice, he left 8 children a home and land to farm. On May 8, 1939, Sam Lane passed away in Millen, Georgia. He was buried in Emma Lane Cemetery, born in the same community where he died. But Sam Lane did not leave his community the same as he found it. The children of Sam Lane grew. They had children, and those children had children. And the Lane and Jones family carries the legacy. This is the home of Leo and Rosina Patterson in Covington, Georgia. Founded in the early 1800s, the city of Covington grew as a cotton town, its prosperity built on the labor of enslaved people. Even after the Civil War, freedom came without equality, and many remained trapped in systems of sharecropping that echoed the injustices of slavery. Today, this 26-acre property, now owned by a Lane descendant, stands as something far greater than land alone. It is a testament to how history can turn, not by forgetting the past, but by surviving it.
Let's begin by finding out about who Alex Lane is. You're from Chicago, but where did you start out?
Well, I was born in Georgia. My parents, Calvin and the late Corinne Lane, had a lot of influence on me there. And actually, I believed in what they told me. And when they tell me could do good, I would believe it and try to do it. I went to school there and finished high school in a little town called Millen.
Good evening. I'm Latrell Carr. It has truly been my honor to share the story of some of my ancestors. My great-great-great-grandfather, Scott Lane, my great-great-grandfather, Sam Lane, and my great-grandfather, Frank Sappho Lane, and his siblings. This family reunion is a time for us to honor those who came before us, but it's also an opportunity for us to connect, to form new bonds, to share stories, and to build relationships that can last far beyond this gathering. So take just a moment to look around. Some of us may have never met before, but one of the things I hope we've learned from this film tonight is that we are in fact connected by legacy. We are standing on the shoulders of the Lane giants. To God be the glory. Thank you for watching.